Good morning students, welcome to today's class. In our previous classes, we have discussed about conservation of nature and we have seen the reasons why the nature is dwindling every day and what effects it is producing on the plants and animals which are living in it. The plants and animals are affected the most and this is due to the human intervention or human activities. Now in today's class, I am going to discuss about the Red Data Book. Now why we want to discuss about Red Data Book is that how we are going to know that which species of animal need to be conserved and which need to be conserved ASAP, means which need to be conserved with the most care. The Red Data Book is being made by IUCN or WCU. IUCN, that is International Council of the Conservation of Nature, has formed a book, that is Red Data Book, which compromises of several categories, and these categories are the plants and animals which are put according to the numbers they are present in the nature. So IUCN or WCU, do remember the full form of these, has formed Red Data Book. This is a book which has the plants, animals and other microorganisms into it according to the categories. There are basically 9 categories in Red Data Book, and in these 9 categories the organisms are put according to the numbers they are present. So environmentalists and the people in IUCN keep on doing the survey and keep on finding the number of the animals that are present in the nature, and then they put into these categories. So let's see what are these 9 categories which fall under the Red Data Book and what kind of animals are placed into this category. So the first category which comes in the Red Data Book is extinct. Extincts come from the term extinction. Extinction means there is not a single organism left of that particular species in the entire world. Like dodo or dinosaur, the most common example. Dinosaurs are extinct from the nature long ago, and dodo are the organisms, the birds which have extinct in the recent times. So these organisms can never be found in the world ever again. Extinction is that process which have been very common from that long time. Means there is not something which we have seen in the present times, but something which has been always happening. But the 1000 CE or Common Era to 2000 Common Era, this process have really extended up. This process has really sped up. मीन्स ये प्रोसेस जो है ये बहुत जल्दी हुआ है ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन की वजह से, ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज की वजह से. व्हाट आर द एक्टिविटीज दैट इज लीडिंग टू एक्सटिंक्शन विच हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड, लाइक डिफॉरेस्टेशन विच इज ईटिंग अवे द हैबिटेट ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म. दे आर फॉलिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ देयर फूड, दे आर नॉट एबल टू ब्रीड इन द रेट इन विच दे कैन सर्वाइव देमसेल्फ, so they are falling short of the survival. So they are not able to survive, hence they are ending up into extinction. So the extinction is a process which is happening from long time but has sped up due to human activities, and there are a lot of animals which have extinct from the past to the present time. Let's see some of the examples which come into that, like Tasmanian tiger, dodo, saber-tooth cat, mammoth. These are some of the animals which have extinct. This list is very small. There are a lot of plants and animals which fall into this category, but it is very difficult to put every example on the blackboard. So I am just putting few examples for your reference. The second category that comes after extinct is extinct in wild. Now what it means and how it is different from the first category. Extinct in the wild means the species has lost every member in the wild, means in forest in the wild habitat, they are not at all found. So where they are found, it may happen that they may be found in the protected areas, in the zoological parks, it may be found over there, but they have lost entire species in the wild. So that category is extinct in the wild, and there are a lot of organisms which fall into these categories. Let's see some examples in the category of extinct in the wild. Black soft shell turtle, South China tiger, and some species of dove is also included in the extinct in the wild. So the animals or the plants which are not found in the forest anymore, but they are found in the protected areas, can be included into extinct in the wild categories. These organisms need to be protected with a more effort because they have already lost major numbers of the species. The third category is critically endangered. Now, as you can see that the term itself says critically endangered, means all those animals or plants which are very much endangered, means their numbers have decreased rapidly and they need to be protected as soon as possible. All those are included into critically endangered category, and therefore these are the third category in which the animals or plants or any other microorganism which fall into this category have to be protected. The protected areas are mainly made for these categories only, which fall into critically endangered and the further more categories. Let's see some of the examples of critically endangered animals. Black rhino, Amur leopard. These fall into this category. Again, I am saying that the organisms or the species which are found in these categories are much more. So we are just enlisting some of the organisms which can be understood by you. So let's look into the next category of the red data book, that is endangered. This is the fourth category. The organisms, if they are not protected, which fall into this category, can fall into the category of critically endangered. So they are very threatened. And let's see what are the examples that can come into this category. Several species of rhino like black, Java and Sumatran fall into the categories, means many species of rhino are endangered. The next category, that is the fifth category, is the category of vulnerable species. The species that falls into the category of vulnerable, endangered and critically endangered are the most threatened organisms, means they need to be protected with most care because their numbers are dwindling day by day. Therefore, their numbers should be protected by several conservation methods. So let's see now what are the examples that fall into the category of vulnerable species. So we have flying fox, that fall into the category of the vulnerable species. Then we have Nilgiri langur, black bug. You may have heard about black bug. So these are some of the species, some of the examples that can be seen in the case of vulnerable species. Then let's see what is the next category after the vulnerable species. The next category is of near threatened. Now near threatened, because the other three categories above this category means the critically endangered and vulnerable species are the threatened, species, means these species have the most danger on them, and if they are not protected with utmost care, then their numbers will decrease and they will fall into the category of extinct. After this category comes the near threatened, means their number are less but they are not in the list of endangered. So they can be protected but they are not in as much danger as the threatened species. So the near threatened species comprises of examples like Gala, white rhino, and after these first 6 categories comes the next category, that is of least concern category. Now the first 6 categories are the categories in which all the organisms, plants, animals and microorganisms are falling, which need to be taken care of because their numbers are dwindling fast. Therefore they need to be taken care of. So these categories are the ones in which the most number of organisms are put which are in danger. So the next category is of least concern. As the term itself says that these are those organisms which numbers are a lot and they need not to be taken care of, means their numbers are not in danger. So these many species of bird, mammals, fish comes into the category. Then comes the next category, that is data inefficient. Data insufficient means the data available is not up to the level, so they cannot be put into this category. The last category is of not evaluated. So we have the last category, not evaluated, of all those organisms where numbers are lot and they are not evaluated at all. So these are the 9 categories that fall into the red data book, and there are lots of conservation practices, rules and ways to conserve all those organisms which fall into the first 6 categories. And there are several awareness programs that is done on that. On that note, I would like to add one thing which I taught in the last class. That was about Project Tiger. You know that tiger is a national animal of the India, and why it is being called as a national animal? Because the numbers are dwindling a lot. Therefore, to take care of the tigers so that their number are not decreasing and they are not going into the category of extinct into the wild or extinct, therefore they are designated as the national animal, so that conservation process should be done properly. And we have discussed that Project Tiger, which was launched in the year 1973, does various such programs to conserve the species of tiger which are there in India. Under this category, that is a successful story which we have discussed earlier, I would like to add the latest number of tigers that is available in India right now. The latest data says that there are 2,967 tigers left in India right now, which is lot more for what it had started with. Means with 1411 tigers, now we are almost to the 3000 tigers which are present in India, which is almost half of the tigers that is present in the earth. So these tell us about the how the conservation practices can be helpful. This tells us that how the conservation practices have to be done. The whole significance of red data book is to make people aware that what are those animals which need to be taken care of ASAP, means at most, and which are the animals where numbers are lot and they should not be taken care of. This is red data book. Data is regularly updated so that we are able to know that if the conservation practices are becoming successful or not. Now we'll move to the next topic. So we were discussing about the red data book, and we were discussing that what are those animals or plants or organisms which need to be protected. Now what is the reason that only few organisms fall into this category often, or they need to be protected more? We have discussed one point earlier in the class, that was about endemic species. If you remember that endemic species were those species which are native to a certain place or a particular country. So these species are the ones which cannot survive into all the kind of habitat. Hence they becomes very vulnerable if anything happens to their habitat. So those species are more likely to fall into the category that are the first 5 or first 6 categories in the red data book, because if they are not able to survive into a certain place where their native place is, then they are more likely to extinct or become vulnerable, threatened. So it is more likely to take care of these species much more. Now there are few species which are very rare, means their numbers are very less and therefore they need to be taken care of also. So those species which should be taken care of, a lot more protection, are endemic species, and rare species. I hope you know the meaning of rare. Rare means which are very less, not found everywhere, their number is very less. Endemic species and rare species are different. Endemic species are those species which is only found in a certain place but their number could be more, whereas rare species could be found everywhere but their number could be less. So these two species need more protection when we are talking about conservation practices. Now we discuss about the next phenomenon, that is about migration and how the organisms are affected by the natural changes, the climatic changes, and they are moving towards migration. So the next topic is migration. So let's discuss about migration. Migration, what it means, what is the meaning of migration? Migration means the movement of a lot of organism together from one place to another, or you can say a mass movement of organism from one place to another is called migration. So we can write down the definition of migration as the process of mass movement of organisms. Now what means by mass movement? Mass movement means when a lot of organisms are moving from one place to another. It is not a movement of one or two organisms at one time, but when a group or a herd or a large number of organisms are moving from one place to another, that is called migration. What could be the reason of migration? Why the birds or animals are moving towards migration? Let's see the reason of the migration. So the reason of the migration could be in search of food, in search of shelter, it could be to escape harsh weather, or it could be for better breeding season. So we have 4 reasons of migration. 1 for the search of food, search of shelter, to escape harsh weather, or for better breeding season. There are a lot of animals or birds which move from one place to another for all the 4 reasons, or maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them. For example, let's take the example, 2 very common example, that is about Arctic tern and Siberian crane. Arctic tern has the longest migratory route, means it moves from Arctic region to Antarctic region for migration. So that is why it is having a long migratory route, whereas Siberian crane move from Siberia, they migrate from Siberia to India for to escape from the harsh weather or harsh climate. So they move to the Bharatpur bird sanctuary or many of the bird sanctuary that is present in India, like Sultanpur bird sanctuary. But from last few decades, the number are dwindling a lot, and in fact they have almost vanished from these bird sanctuary. The reason is that these changing weather and climate in places means the deforestation, which is leading to the climatic change, is making their number go very low. They are losing their number, they are becoming very vulnerable, therefore they are not doing migration. And the second reason is also that they are hunted when they are moving in the migratory route. So that's why their number is decreasing. So migration is done so that they can live a better life in some other place for certain time. But since they are hunted in their route, number of times their number is decreasing for that reason also. So this is about migration. Before I move to the next topic, I would like you to write the example of some species. For example, write two examples of endemic species, rare species, and the organisms which do migration. So you have to write two examples of all these three. We will move to the next topic now. So till now we have seen that how the organisms are losing their life day by day, and this is all due to human activities, human intervention, which we are causing the loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity is important point of our nature. Means the various kind of life forms that exist in our nature makes our nature very dynamic, and nature balances with all the biotic and abiotic components very nicely. But due to human activities, this balance is getting disturbed, due to which many of the organisms are either ending up as extinct or on the verge of extinction. Therefore, it is very important, or I could say this is a need of the hour, that we should start conserving our nature from the moment today only. So we have seen that how the organization like IUCN and every government, every country's government are taking steps to conserve our nature, to conserve the plants and animals. But it is also our effort or also our responsibility to take up the conservation at our scale. Means we should also do conservation by our own. We should also take the responsibility individually and should not only blame the government or other people, because if we are leading a very luxurious or a very comfortable life, we are living on the cost of nature. So what we can do? In our previous classes, we have discussed about the principle of R. The principle of R is the key point of conservation. Means every conservation, if it is related to soil, land, or any kind of conservation, it does not end up before discussing the principles of R. And the major points in this is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now I think this is not something new which we have not discussed earlier. हम जब से पढ़ रहे हैं तब से हमने ये सारी चीजें डिस्कस की हुई हैं. So what it means actually, let me give you some small insights about it. Reduce means let's reduce everything that is coming from the nature and let's stop wasting it. Means whatever things you are using from the nature, try to reduce the consumption. It is very important to reduce the consumption, because if we are using things at a very high speed, then the nature will not be able to balance it. For example, if you are using things like disposable items, whether the disposable items are coming from plastics or disposable items coming from wood, and if you're using it and it just wasting it, then more and more things will be made. Means loss of nature. Therefore, try to use things as much as possible. Try to reduce the waste. So reduce the wastage is very important. Second point is reuse. Reuse means try to use the things again and again. Whatever is coming from the nature, whatever, if it is directly coming to you or indirectly coming to you or is coming in a processed form, try to reuse as much as possible. For example, if you are trying to use paper, try to use paper again and again, maybe into some other thing or something like making craft or best out of waste. Try to reuse it. If you are taking up any furniture, try to reuse it. If it is not coming in a sort of stuff, for example, we had a table which we have renovated into a dining table. So that table was used again into some another type of furniture. Many number of times doors can also be converted into tables. So there are many ways by which the things can be reused again. You just have to be little creative. Then comes recycling. The things which we cannot use or reuse, that goes for recycling. Recycling means the process of production happens again. Now what is the benefit of recycling? The benefit of recycling is that we are not using the raw material here. So we are not affecting the nature like it was done earlier. We are using the material which were already there and we are using it as a raw material. Means जो चीजें पहले से बनी हुई है उसी को हम रिसाइकिल कर रहे हैं, जिससे जो पहले से बनी हुई चीजों को जो है करने से पहली चीज तो वो वेस्ट जो है वो जनरेट नहीं हो रहा है. Second thing, we are not harming the nature. So recycling is the need of the hour. Recycling is something which is need of hour. Whether it is recycling of paper, recycling of wood, recycling of anything is the need of hour. In today's class, we are going to study recycle of paper. Now why I am discussing this point? Because recycle of paper is very important. So why recycling is important? The paper we use every day for our stationery or either for writing or reading is coming from the soft wood. That soft wood is coming from the wood which is already found in the mountain region. That wood is made into wood pulp and then it is processed to make the papers, various sorts of papers. It takes around 24 trees, 24 tall trees to make into 1 ton of paper. 24 trees is equal to 1 ton of paper. So just imagine that the paper we are using are actually causing the deforestation. So what is the result? That deforestation is happening. So what is the solution? Should we stop studying? Definitely it cannot be done. So what we can do? We can do recycling of paper. Recycling of paper is using the paper which is already made into paper as a raw material. So we are stopping the deforestation because we are not cutting the fresh trees. We are just using the paper which was already there as a raw material. So we can do that also at home and it is done in the factories also. Factories, the paper already used are taken care of and then they are again made into wood pulp and then they are processed to make the papers. You may have seen many copies, books made up of recycling paper or recycled paper. At home also, if you are having a newspaper at your home, just tore into small pieces. Try to keep into water for some hours so that it can be made into a pulp and then spread into a wire mesh and then flatten it. You can have a handmade paper. Handmade paper, you can color it into various colors. This handmade paper becomes very costly if you go into the market and buy that. So you can recycle paper at home also. So the main significance of recycling of paper is to avoid deforestation or cutting of trees so that we are not using the fresh raw material. We are using whatever is there already, which cut the cost of the production, which cut the cost of electricity, which cut the cost of manpower, plus it is also reducing deforestation. So recycling of paper is very important. Now let's move to another way by which we can conserve our nature, that is reforestation. What is reforestation and how it is different from afforestation, we are going to discuss it. So let's now discuss about reforestation. What is reforestation? As you can see, the term is made up of re and forestation. Forestation means growing up of a forest. Reforestation means again the forest has been growing up. So what is this process? This process is about the process of planting trees of same species that was found in the forest earlier. Now what this line or what this definition means. For example, as you know that deforestation is happening rapidly and at every second we are losing many number of trees. Why? For our comfort. Now, if we say that what is our comfort in that, definitely as the number of population is increasing day by day, the need of food is increasing, the need of place to live is increasing, the need of place to recreate is needed. So from where all this place will come? Definitely by cutting down the trees, by removing the forest. Now, if we are removing the forest, we are knowing that how much loss we are going to get it. So how we can remove this loss, or how we can counter attack this loss? By doing some activities such as reforestation. What we are doing in reforestation is that if a particular forest has been cut due to some reason, then the same type of species of plant are planted in that place, so that again the forest is regrown. So we are not losing the forest, so not the species are also lost and the habitat is maintained. So reforestation is the phenomenon by which the same species of plants are grown into the forest. How it is different from the afforestation process? Before that, we discussed about afforestation. What happens in afforestation? It is just random planting. Means in all those places where there was no trees, no plants found earlier, or all those places the plants are planted. So that process is called afforestation. Whereas reforestation is that process where there was earlier a forest and some species or the entire forest has been cut, and then the same species of plants are grown into the that particular region of the area or the forest. So that is reforestation. Both afforestation and reforestation is important to conserve the nature. So here I now end the chapter which is called conservation of plants and animals. Now in this chapter, let me summarize what we have studied. Since we have been studying from some weeks, let me summarize what we have studied in this chapter. We started with the causes or the concerns that is leading to the destruction of the nature, and that is deforestation, natural calamities, and many other factors like pollution and many other such factors. And what effect does these things does on nature? That is loss of biodiversity. The loss of biodiversity is leading to extinction or making the species vulnerable, threatened, or endangered. So these species are duly surveyed, evaluated, and then put into the category in red data book, so that people all along the world, environmentalists all along the world knows that which species need to be taken care of immediately and which can be taken care of little later. So all these species are put into red data book, which has been issued by IUCN, that is International Council of Conservation of Nature. And what are those things, what are those steps which we can done collectively or individual basis to counter attack or counterpart the bad effects of the loss of biodiversity? For example, if we are losing trees, we can do the process of afforestation and reforestation. If the animals are losing their lives, we can try to have conservation practices like making up of protected areas, abiding the rules that is made by the government, such as no poaching, no illegal hunting, and no destruction of the nature. Then we can also do some things at our basis, like at individual basis, like reduce, reuse, recycle, and try to make people aware that what will happen if nature is destructed. It is not something which is only going to make bad effect on plants and animals, it is also going to affect us badly, and we are seeing the effects. In the last some years, we have been seeing that how nature can be really destructive to us, and not only other will lose life, even humans are losing life day by day. So it is very important, or I would say it is a need of ours to conserve our nature, to conserve plants and animals, to treat them as an equal part of earth and live in a harmony. So this is all about the chapter conservation.